Welcome in. The base is dropped on a preview edition for Soccer Down here, a Peach preview. It can't be a Five Stripes countdown because that's on another network, so they're wearing Peach tonight.
Preview.
So it's a Peach preview for Atlanta United and the Charleston Battery live from Fifth Third Bank Stadium at Kennesaw State. We'll be with you until 6:55. Then you can watch the match on ESPN Plus. After the ESPN Plus broadcast ends, we'll be back with some post-match coverage, just like we normally would if we were allowed to have this on local radio. We tried. We tried again after the match was moved to closed doors. We tried everything possible. It was impossible. So we're trying to give you as much coverage as we can. It is a closed-door match. I will not be there. I'll be watching from the studio at home. John will be away, but Jarrett Smith will be there on hand. He will be our eyes and ears on the ground in Kennesaw, Georgia. What's up, Jarrett?
Not a lot. This feels right. The three of us talking, ranting, being grumpy and happy. And, yeah, it just feels right. Hey, I'm going to go sit up there with, I don't know, if we count the players, 40 of my closest friends? Because it's just going to be media and players. It's going to look like a Legia Warsaw game.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be one of those kind of nights. It's going to be weird. I'm wondering what kind of effect that has on the match.
Playing a game at Foxborough.
Yeah, kind of, except even more exaggerated. It's just a weird vibe because, look, I don't think it's a secret at this point. From Charleston's statements that they have put out publicly, it's obvious that they did not want to have this resolution to this match. They were drawn to host. The field was deemed unplayable by U.S. Soccer and the U.S. Open Cup Committee, and the match did not take place on Tuesday. There was no other solution to play it, according to U.S. Soccer. Now, Charleston says they submitted a proposal, and it was we don't know what it was. We don't know where it was. In their statement, they mentioned talking to people in Savannah and in Greenville, South Carolina, the Greenville Triumph. So don't know what proposal they submitted, but U.S. Soccer made this as how this game is going to get resolved. We also know the group, or the bracket now. Atlanta United Charleston winner will go to Columbus on Tuesday of next week to face the Crew. When you look past that, you're looking at the winner of St. Louis and Cincinnati. And, John, I think for either team here, it feels like an opportunity in a manageable section of the bracket to reach a U.S. Open Cup semifinal.
Yeah, and if you look at FC Cincinnati, obviously on face value, they've had issues scoring goals. They get 2 last night against Lou City, Adi and Mane. It took them more than 90 minutes to get the win. St. Louis, Jason, you and I have seen them this year going up against Atlanta United, 2 very sound defensively, veteran side. But I think that if you're looking at it from the perspective of Atlanta United, Columbus Crew, Charleston Battery, you're in a manageable pod right now, and you got to take care of business tonight and sit there and think that you ought to be able to take care of business next week.
Yeah, I think both teams look at this, and you have to feel pretty good about what the Open Cup could hold for you. And when you look at the bracket and the matchups, it is regional, and the winner of the Mid-East pod, which is where Columbus, Atlanta, Charleston winner, St. Louis, and Cincinnati are, will go up against the winner of the East pod, which Orlando hosts New England and DC United hosts NYC. Out on the other side of the bracket, Midwest, Houston hosting Minnesota, Dallas hosting New Mexico United. And in the West section, LAFC will host Jarrett Smith's San Jose Earthquakes, and the Portland Timbers will host the LA Galaxy. It feels like a pretty fun bracket now that we're at this stage. This is the fixed bracket. This is how it will go all the way to the final, and I think we could see some more surprises along the road.
Hey, shout out to the USL
go for it,
champion.
Jared. I want to hear your response to all this stuff.
Yeah, shout out to the USL Championship Eastern Conference. By the way, because this is 2 years in a row we've gotten to this stage, and you've had two USL teams, still standing in that same pod. Last year you had Atlanta play Chicago. Remember how that went? But I believe it was Louisville and I forget who the other team was. You had two USL teams there too as well. I mean, so USL Eastern Conference keeps showing up, pushing teams through this tournament. So that's nice. I'm glad. Keep doing that. It makes it fun. As far as all this, go ahead.
Go ahead.
As far as all this stuff, it sucks. Like, I was looking forward to watching Atlanta play in Charleston. Charleston's a bowl, though. It rains a little bit. You got problems in Charleston, like big problems. And when it rains a lot, there's not really a lot you can do about it at some point. And I'd be curious to know what their whole proposal was to U.S. Soccer, because that's what we don't know what all the details of it were. We just know that we're playing at Fifth Third Bank Stadium tonight. And, hopefully, because at this point it feels like every year Atlanta's going to get drawn with Charleston until something weird happens. Nashville was the team, by the way, last year that was also in their renewal because they beat Colorado, who was just listless as hell. But until it happens otherwise, you can just kind of pencil in Atlanta and Charleston. And hopefully next year you get to play in Charleston. Hopefully it's good weather because it's such a fun city and such a beautiful location when the sun's shining and it's not underwater when 3 inches of rain fall.
Well, it'll be a different location in Charleston next year if the Battery do host, and we don't know where that'll be yet because this is the final year for MUSC Health Stadium before that land becomes, I believe, condos and mixed-use development as Daniel Island continues to blow up. Let's talk a little bit about the tournament and what got us to this stage. It's the final game in the round of 32, and this has been a tournament that maybe hasn't had as many upsets, but the ones that are still standing, New Mexico and St. Louis, are two of the best teams in the USL Championship. And we saw an NPSL team last night in Orange County FC give the Galaxy a game of it and keep them scoreless till halftime. So we've had a few upsets along the way, but, John, it feels like a tournament that hasn't had as many as we've been accustomed to.
No, and I know that we all kind of hung our wagon to the soccer soldiers early on, but that really has been the highest profile lower division side that we've seen. And then you look at what happened last night. Memphis was competitive for a while at Mike Rose. Orlando ends up winning. FC Dallas scores early. Matt Hedges, of all people, scores early for FCD off a set piece. I think it was off a corner. They beat OKC 4-0. North Carolina FC traveled north. They lost 4-0 to NYCFC. Austin put up a fight, as you had predicted, but Houston got the Duke there. And then, you go back another round and you're looking at Charleston knocking off Nashville, New Mexico United knocking off Colorado Springs. So you have a lot of USL Championship teams going up against each other in the previous round, with really going back to round 2, the Soccer Soldiers only being that one team that elbowed their way in from the lower divisions. So this one has been as chalk as I can remember in recent years when it comes to Open Cup play.
Yeah, there haven't been the crazy runs. We haven't seen a Christos make a super deep run. Although Orange County FC is in PSL, I look at as a little bit higher level than the local amateur league. So Orange County was your longest running amateur team. Forward Madison got into the tournament a little bit in their first year. We saw South Georgia Tormented 2 from USL League 2 pull an upset. Yeah, I just wanted to set that up for you. Go ahead and yell about your Flamingos. And, New Mexico is the team of the tournament, I think, in a lot of ways. I think they've captured a lot of people's imagination. There were a bunch of people watching that game last night with Colorado. It was a fun one. New Mexico got a goal in second half stoppage time to send it to extra time, and won on penalties. New Mexico and Dallas, I don't know if New Mexico would have been able to host. And when you start looking at the requirements to host in this tournament, the further you get, the more requirements you see. And I don't know if the Lab would have met those requirements. But New Mexico's a team that's shown they can go on the road, and they don't really care. They're going to be just fine. Their attack's going to keep them in any game. And Metro Atlanta area goalkeeper Cody Mizell is a goalkeeper who can get hot. And he made some big saves in the Colorado match last night.
It's it's fun to watch. Like, New Mexico is fun to watch in a vacuum when you think, oh, it's a lower division team. Go look. If you don't know what's going on with New Mexico, go look at what New Mexico does on a nightly basis in terms of getting fans out there. It's jumping. It's great to see. It's a lot of fun to watch them continue to explode. People are piling into a baseball stadium to watch that team play. They went out and beat an MLS team, and good on you. Congratulations. That's fun. And, I know you mentioned Christos. Nothing will ever replace that Christos run in my heart, I don't think. I think that is my favorite run I've ever seen in this tournament. The only other thing that comes close to it in terms of my favorite thing in this tournament and to my dying day, will be Silverbacks and Colorado Rapids. But as far as a run goes, Christos is the one.
Well, that Silverbacks run from 2014, I mean, that's one of the best runs for a lower division team in recent years. They got all the way to the quarterfinals. They beat Real Salt Lake at Silverbacks Park.
2 or 3 MLS teams.
2. They beat RSL at Silverbacks Park. Then they went to Colorado and won with the match finishing 10-8 with both managers sent off. And then came back to Silverbacks Park and played the Chicago Fire, and it was a late goal from the Fire after an early double red. Mike McGee and I believe Jesus Gonzalez was sent off for Atlanta. So a double red card. It was 10-10 for most of the match. Probably. It was that kind of year, but they were in that one until pretty late against the Fire and couldn't see it through. So that's one of the longest runs from a lower division team in recent years. It's not easy. It's tough. The MLS teams, I think the quality has gotten even better over the years since then, 5 years ago, and it's just harder for lower division teams to knock MLS teams off. I'm still of the opinion, and I'd love to hear from you guys what you would want to do to change the tournament to improve it. I'm still of the opinion that whatever U.S. Soccer can do to get MLS teams in the round of 64 is the way to go, because then I think you create more unique matchups. We're seeing a lot of rematches in the Open Cup because of the geographic nature, and I think you do need to keep that. But we're seeing a lot of the early round repeat matchups that, get a little stale after a while, John.
Yeah, and that to me is... in your hip pocket, you're always thinking that, even not knowing how the pods are going to line up, you're always thinking that it's Atlanta and Charleston. You're always going to end up having something resembling Cascadia at some point. And the California teams may get paired up against each other one way or the other. And we now have Charleston starting 11 for the evening.
All right, give us the lineup.
All right, from the back, it is Breno in net. Back line listed as a back 3. Van Schaik, Taylor Mueller, and Nelson are at the back. Middle 4, AJ Patterson, Mason, Vincenzo Candela, Nico Rittmeyer, Dante Marini, Romario Piggott, and Svanteson up top. Your substitutes: Kuzminski, Woodbine, Kelly, Ta Anunga, Hitaro Higashi, Arthur Boswa, and Nick Daly. So that is your 11 plus 7 for Charleston tonight.
All right, your Atlanta United lineup is Alec Cannon, goal, backline left to right, Breck Shea, Florentine Pogba, Miles Robinson, and Franco Escobar. 3 in the central midfield. It's Jeff Lorenowitz, who's wearing the captain's armband, Darlington Nagbe, and Andrew Carlton. Dion Pereira on the left side, Pity Martinez on the right side, and Romario Williams up top. The bench, Brendan Moore is your backup goalkeeper. Yeah, it is. It's the same. Michael Parkhurst, Mikey Ambrose are your defenders on the bench. Eric Remedi, Gordon Wild, Justin Merrim, Brandon Vasquez are your midfielders and forwards. So no changes, which you would expect. I mean, unless something happened with an injury in training, you wouldn't expect a change. And we get to see that midfield attacking three that I was looking forward to, Jarrett, of Pereira, Carlton, and Pitti. That's a whole lot of 1v1 ability in three different players.
And I stand by what I picked this morning through Twitter of, I think Pitti draws a lot of attention because of what he can do, and I think you're freeing up a lot of opportunity for a guy like Dion Pereira to get 1v1 opportunities. And as we've seen, when he's feeling himself, look, there's a difference between USL and MLS. And it's not, I don't mean it as a shot to USL, but there is a difference. And Dion's been having his way with MLS defenders when he's been on. He could possibly have his way tonight. That doesn't even get into freeing up opportunities for Andrew Carlton. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see what we saw last year when these two teams got together, fifth, third bank, where it was Carlton and Barco in the middle. I believe it was Carlton starting in the middle and Barco on the left. But you saw them swap out and float. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see PT do the same thing, where he's moving around, he's floating around, and Carlton and Dion are moving around, finding the game as well. We've seen, Carlton's been a little inconsistent this year, but when he's played well, what I've liked of him is he's been surging out and finding the game. And I think all three of them have the potential to go find this game. And there's that's a lot of attacking prowess to have to lock down.
Well, what we've seen with, I think this midfield of Pitti Martinez on the right, and we first saw that off the bench in Utah against Real Salt Lake. One, Franco Escobar and Pitti Martinez on the same side is a really good thing for Atlanta United. Pitti Martinez wants to cut inside on his left foot. Franco Escobar running that flank. Really good situation. So Pitti's going to cut inside. You don't want to so much go out and occupy the space that you want to give to Escobar, but Pitti's going to cut inside and be able to combine with Carlton, two very technical players. I think Pereira is going to stay wider on the left and look for his opportunities to go 1v1 and put in a cross and try to pick out Romario Williams, or pull it back to the top of the 18 and pick out Carlton or Pitti. I think it plays perfectly for it. And Carlton is the type of 10 who can roam around a little bit and find the game. I think he plays that role a little bit differently than Julian Gressel does, who we saw in the last match against Chicago. Gressel's going to stay more central, whereas I think Carlton will drift out on either side and look to create 2v1s and overloads when he can. He's just that type of player. I think he just will go and find the game. And with Nagbe and Lorenowitz behind him, you've got two solid central midfielders that can hold things down. You can take a few chances if you're Andrew Carlton. It needs to be a good night for Andrew Carlton. I think he's in a situation here where outside of Romario Williams replacing Joseph Martinez up top, he's got all starters around him. And now we get a chance to see from the start Andrew Carlton with a starting lineup, first choice around him, what he can do.
And for Charleston, going back to their match against Birmingham, it's the 5 changes. Breno, Kelly,
Kyle
Higashi,
Kessler is on top of things. Breck Shea coming in for Mikey Ambrose is a change to what the 11 would have been in Charleston. Yes, thank you, Kyle. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being better at my job than I am.
Yes.
And Austin Bringing to Beef said that he has missed you on our SDH-ness.
Oh,
I missed all of SDH and all of the tomfoolery, and there are other words to use.
Yes,
yeah, there are.
Chaos.
Yeah, but yeah, for the 3-1 win last weekend against Birmingham, it was pretty much 5 changes, and so. It's Breno has been their hot keeper in Open Cup play, and then you've got like I said, Angelo Kelly and Tanunga Higashi Boswa, and then obviously Svanteson up top, all 8'3" of him. That to me is one of the focal points, Mr. Set Piece, Ian Svanteson.
Yeah, I mean
Good luck, Miles.
that's a weapon for I mean Miles has got the vertical leap. This is true, but that's the weapon for Charleston that you don't really have a direct answer for because nobody does. One thing about the location flipping is that's a big difference in the fortunes for the Charleston Battery, as Jared Van Schaik alluded to on Twitter in his criticism of this decision. Charleston this season 4-0-4 at home, 1-3-1 away from home. And they have not defeated Atlanta United's first team at Fifth Third Bank Stadium. Hasn't happened. You look at the lineup and the goal scorers here for Charleston in this one. Svanteson has 3 goals on the season, and he would be their leading scorer in the lineup tonight, along with – nope, Bos was not in it. Sorry. So he is the guy. Marini's got 2 on the season as he's come back from injury last year. Zako Lewis, their leading scorer, is away with Bermuda's national team in the Gold Cup, and he'll be kicking that off this weekend.
Yeah, and Taylor Mueller is coming off of a broken nose. I think he'll be wearing the Phantom of the Opera mask for the foreseeable future. So he was out for a little bit, but now he's back, and obviously you're not going to keep him out of a situation like this. But experience there at the back with Mueller and Van Schaik and guys who are coming into their own, like a Nico Rittmeyer and a Vincenzo Candela. And you look at what Charleston's been able to do, Dante Marini's another part of it. The mix of the first-year guys, Nelson and Mason and Patterson and Piggott and Phil Moreno, and how they've integrated pretty well with each other in a very tough Eastern Conference. They've had a bit of a stretch lately where they're hanging around toward the bottom of the playoff bar. But early on in the season, the new guys had integrated pretty well with what Mike Anhauser was looking to do with the Battery.
Here's the thing about the Battery that's a little interesting when you look at this. So it's a 3-4-3, but it's not the 3-4-3 that we saw Atlanta United playing because Patterson and Rittmeyer aren't really truly wing backs. Patterson a little bit closer to that. Rittmeyer wants to get forward. So how is that going to work? Is it going to be a little bit of a lopsided 3-4-3 with Patterson holding back more and Rittmeyer trying to bomb down and combine with Piggott? Maybe. Nelson has not been a guy who started as much as Mueller and Van Schaik. Those two are mainstays with this team, and they've been there for a while now. Nelson's got 6 starts on the season. Patterson's only got 3 starts on the season. 23 years old. He came up through college at Wright State. Played 1 match with Bethlehem Steel last year. He was picked in the second round of the 2018 Super Draft by NYC, but didn't sign a deal with them. Only made the 1 game with Bethlehem Steel, stuck with him through the whole season. They released him at the end of the year, and he signed with Charleston in March. He's a Grenada international and has played with them in CONCACAF Nations League. Patterson will be the one that I think Atlanta United tries to pick on because, look, 3-4-3, and we saw it firsthand, it's not an easy shape to play. And against a team like Atlanta and against a front 4 of Pereira, Carlton, and Pitti, who all can dribble you and move you around on the field, and a striker, number 9, like Romario Williams, that Mueller and Van Schaik will know very well. That's going to be tough for a back 3 to deal with, let alone 2 wingbacks who are a little inexperienced in those types of roles. Patterson's on the left side on the graphic, and from what we know of the Battery, he would be the left-sided player in this 3-4-3. If you're Atlanta United and you have Pitti Martinez on the right side attacking A.J. Patterson, you're going to try to do that in the 1st minute, 2nd minute, 3rd minute, 4th minute, 5th minute, and you keep doing it until it breaks. Because that's the weak spot if you're Atlanta matched up with Charleston tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Patterson and Mason and Dante Marini over there. I think you've hit on it. It's the right hand side of Atlanta's attack going up against the left for Charleston, and the inexperience that's there and the speed United has. I think that 6th, 7th, and 8th minute you work on it as going forward.
Yeah,
in addition to
keep attacking.
keep pounding it. You pound it.
Yeah,
you also just
that's the way you're going to go. Jared, I know you are actually – are you there yet?
yeah.
Okay. I know there's a huge crowd for the closed-door match.
I mean, security.
There are more doors than people.
Yeah, there's gonna be more soccer balls in the field than people.
Probably yes. What are you looking forward to? If you were giving us the keys to the match, what would they be?
Don't get caught out if you're Atlanta. Charleston will sit. I remember watching last year when they came to when they went to the Proving Ground up to the fish tank, and they set deep and they just kept popping Atlanta United 2 on counters, and it was impressive. Sponson actually scored with his feet, by the way, which was one of the biggest plot twists of the year. Just don't get caught out, especially when Franco wants to get forward. You're going to have to be responsible. I think especially early in the game, because you don't want to give up that early goal and let Charleston decide, okay, cool, we're going to park a coach bus in front of this goal and take off the tires and the axles.
Yeah, you can't let a team like Charleston get the first goal here and then decide to sit back and just defend. You can't give them that opportunity. And for Atlanta, I think when you look at this lineup that Charleston's thrown out and the 3-4-3 that they've played, and there's a good bit of tape on the way they play. I mean, you're worried about Svanteson up top. You're worried about Marini on the dribble. Dante Marini's a player that I've liked a lot. You don't want to give them the early goal, so then they could turn to an O'Brien Woodbine, a veteran who could come in and play as an outside back and give you 4. A Brian Anunga who you could bring in and sit and defend, a very physical central midfielder. You don't want to give them the opportunity to do those things. You want to punish them for playing a lineup that opens some doors for you, honestly. I mean, it's not the way I would choose to play Atlanta United if I was the Charleston Battery looking at this, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for Atlanta to attack down the flanks. And we mentioned Pitti running at A.J. Patterson. There's another guy who was the player of the postseason for Atlanta United who's been critical to their recent success in Franco Escobar, who will be up and down that flank consistently and have a lot to do with breaking that side of the field down. I think that's where Atlanta gets all of their excitement today. I think they're going to attack down the right side consistently.
I get how much we talk about PT cutting in on his foot, but the thing I really do enjoy watching is when we see Franco make that run, and he doesn't. It's not like the Tata days where he makes that run to the outside to cross the ball in, like you saw Gressel do, like we used to see Walks do. Name your right back. I know we had a rotating cast last year. I love watching him make that run down the right side and then cut it inside. And if for no other reason, Franco Escobar always has been very confident in Franco Escobar's speed. And we've seen that a couple times now where he makes that run and you realize that he's confident for the right reasons. There's not a lot of people that can stay in front of Franco when he starts making that run.
Nope. And A.J. Patterson's going to be put to that test today. So you guys out there listening, I want to know, with these lineups out now, and yes, the one change for Atlanta, Breck Shea as a left back instead of Mikey Ambrose. Ambrose is in the 18. We don't know why that was flipped, but that has been changed. Charleston went with the same lineup. I don't know, maybe there was something in the lineup that they saw, and they wanted to get Breck Shea's height. Breck Shea is going to be your tallest defender. Is he going to mark Svanteson on set pieces? It's very possible. It's very possible. Maybe that's the change. Maybe that's the difference. We want to hear what you guys think for Atlanta is going to be the key tonight. So tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. Let us know. I think we're going to have to let Jarrett Smith go now that he's arrived, but he has some final words.
If we're talking about marking set pieces, yeah, you've got Svanteson to deal with. You've got Miles who can challenge him in the air. You hit on it. I mean, Breck Shea is my size, which is very large.
Wow. Well, okay then.
Breck Shea is one of those people who I actually stood next to one time. Went, okay, you're legitimately 6'5", because usually when that's listed, I'm like, okay, That's generous, but no, he's legitimately 6'5". Is Larowitz in the lineup tonight? I can't remember off the top of my head.
He is.
He's wearing
the
the C.
Okay, that's what I thought. Larowitz is one of the more underrated guys in the air, especially on this team and around the league. I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for his work in the air. He's not huge. He positions so well, though. And there isn't you don't have Neville Hackshaw. You don't have a couple of the guys who used to cause problems with this team at Charleston. If you can contain Svantesson, I like their chances.
That's going to be the
key.
key.
My TED Talk.
That's going to be the key. I don't think Charleston's going to get as much from the run of play. I think it's going to be set pieces for them. Let's take a break here. Thanks, Jarrett. You're going to be our eyes and ears on the ground, so make sure you're following Jarrett_Smith on the
Behind
Twitter.
closed doors.
Behind closed doors. Jarrett, Doug,
Sounds like
Chris,
a country song.
Probably a few others. No, we're not.
We're going to
singing
challenge.
Kenny Rogers.
We're going to challenge the loser. All of us are going to challenge the loser and do a pickup game afterwards.
Pretty much, and you're gonna lose badly.
Set
so.
pieces with Jarrett Smith.
We're going to take a quick break so Jarrett doesn't hurt himself, and we will be right back after this with the birthday boy, Mike Conti. We'll be right back.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Georgia. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. There's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Georgia High School Association and the Georgia Athletic Directors Association.
Today's show is presented by Appolinsky & Associates, personal injury lawyers with over 30 years of experience, supporters of Atlanta United, Faction, and Inter-Atlanta Youth Football Club. If you've been hurt in a wreck, contact Steve today at steve@aa-legal.com or call in 24/7 at 404-377-9191. The initial consultation is free.
We know that every driver is different, and a one-size policy does not fit all. That's why Country Financial offers a variety of discounts, so you get the coverage you need and the savings you deserve. From good driver to good student, multi-policy to multi-car, we've got a discount to suit every driver. Call Jason Wright at 678-568-6871 today to see what you could save. On Facebook at Jason Wright Agency or by phone at 678-568-6871. Discounts vary by state. Policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, or Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Welcome back. It's not the Five Stripes Countdown. We're calling it the Peach Preview. It works. Close enough. It's a preview show for Atlanta United and Charleston Battery, 4th round Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup from a empty Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw, Georgia.
Jarrett's there.
It's empty, John. There's like 5 people there. It's Jarrett, it's Doug, it's Chris Furmeister. Matt Moore is on PA, we know, and that's always a frightening prospect.
You have our extra special PA guy tonight.
Yes, that's always a good one. There are no French names in the lineup tonight. It's not the Ottawa Fury like it was last year when Matt made his PA debut.
Yes.
And one person who is not there, like the rest of us, is Mike Conti. What's up, Mike? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Guys, thank you. Really appreciate it, and overwhelmed with what all of you guys have been tweeting and Facebooking me today. My heart is full. I really appreciate it. I will admit, and I don't want to have a pity party, but this is very bittersweet to me that we're doing it this way. I got to admit, I'm really, really bummed that we aren't in Kennesaw right now, getting ready to do this game. And it's very, very frustrating to me, and I know to you, Jason, as well, that this is what U.S. Soccer and ESPN have agreed to. For the record, when they moved the match to Kennesaw and they made it closed door, the club went back to the federation and said, hey, look, we can do local radio here, and the federation denied them again. So I'm really disappointed in that. I really wish I was there. I really wish we were calling this game tonight because I like this tournament a lot. And I think we're going to have a fun game tonight. I think we're going to have a lot of goals, and it's going to be a very, very unique match and one where the winner has a very, very tasty path into the semifinal if they can get through tonight.
Yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that now that we know the bracket as it is completely laid out. The winner of this goes to Columbus, and if you've looked at the weather for next week in Columbus, it looks familiar.
Unbelievable. Well, here's the thing. It won't be 40 degrees and changing to sleet. Look, let's assume for a moment that weather is not a factor. You would love to play Columbus right now because Higuain's out for the year. Trapp and Zardes are with the U.S. men's national team. Stefan is gone. They're really struggling to score goals right now. I would have to think they're not going to get much of a crowd for that. I hope that's not the case, but I think it's a reasonable assumption. You really, really love matching up with Columbus next Tuesday if you get there. Beyond that, Cincinnati and St. Louis. Again, Cincinnati, which is completely anemic offensively right now. You did play your worst match of the year against them, and Cincinnati is probably going to go all in lineup-wise in Open Cup. They have their players. They'll have their players certainly by July 14th or whenever the quarterfinal round is. St. Louis, the USL team. I don't know who would be in line to host that match. Jason, maybe you know. But, you're looking at a depleted Columbus and then either the worst team in MLS or a USL team to get to the semifinal. You don't want to take it for granted. I feel like maybe you took Chicago for granted as a fan a little bit last year, and you got bit when you were standing on the cusp of, playing a USL team to make the semifinal. So never take anything for granted, but it really does lay out quite favorably for the winner of this match tonight, whether it be Atlanta or Charleston.
So it's a good question about hosting in the quarterfinals, and I did not see an announcement made about it at the time because the draw kind of skipped the first 6 minutes, Anyway.
Yeah.
The winner of Columbus and Atlanta or Charleston would host in the quarterfinal. That is set on the bracket.
Well, that would be very, very favorable for Atlanta United. I believe that match would be at Kennesaw. I think I can report that. But boy, Charleston tonight in a closed-door match, depleted Columbus, and then Cincinnati or St. Louis at Kennesaw. And then you're looking at a semifinal match in late July, maybe against Philly, maybe against D.C. You have a really, really good chance. Match compression will be a concern, but this is a trophy and it's a path into CONCACAF. And just based on what Frank has been saying, and based on this lineup tonight, they're going for it. This is a go-for-it lineup tonight. I love it. And it incorporates just enough youth to give some guys some minutes, some experience. But, you're talking about Miles Robinson and Pity Martinez starting an Open Cup match against a USL championship team. It's really an aggressive look by Frank DeBoer and one I'm excited to see.
Real quick before you chime in, John, the layout of the tournament as we go from here, you'll have the quarterfinal round on July 10th, and then you'll have a draw on July 11th to determine who hosts semifinals and the priority order for hosting the final. That'll be July 11th. The semifinals are set for August 7th, and the final would be either August 27th or 28th. That's what we're looking at down the road.
You know what would be crazy about that, Jason? You would be talking about playing midweek in a semifinal potentially, the following week playing on a Wednesday in Campione's Cup, and that fixture is set. And then 2 weeks later playing on another Wednesday after you get back from Portland in the U.S. Open Cup final. Oh, boy. But, hey, it would be a lot of fun for the fans, and it's a chance to win a trophy.
And Mike, obviously, when we looked at the Charleston lineup, Svantesson up top, we're thinking, okay, set piece dangerous, and that's what Mike Anhauser's thinking. Joe Bost came in on our Twitter feed, and he's like, I'm thinking PT gets busy tonight, He likes the lineup. He wants to see Carlton do something to show why he's here, and he gave a 3-0 prediction. But you look at that spicy group up top for Atlanta United, and Jason was analyzing the battery lineup, and it looks like down Atlanta United's right-hand side with PT and the Joker and working their way in, that could be the pathway for Atlanta United tonight.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this feels like the Ardiano match at Kennesaw where Pete could really get busy tonight, really get busy. But I think Joe Boss' point on Carlton is an excellent one, and Andrew Carlton showed why he belonged last year in Kennesaw, I think a week before this match is played. I don't remember the exact date. In fact, I know it was a week before because we were in Columbus on June 13th of last year. And Carlton opens the match with a screamer and had a man of the match. I think he was our man of the match that night, a man of the match type performance. Look, Andrew Carlton, it's got to be bittersweet for him to see what the U.S. U-20s did, getting a huge victory in the round of 16, making the last 8 in Poland at the U20 World Cup, and he's excluded from the team. We all know what happened last December, where he wasn't even in the building during the MLS Cup final. These are things that hopefully have gotten Andrew's attention. Now he's got an opportunity, and he's got to make the most of it tonight, but I feel like he's got a really good chance to make the most of it. I mean, he's got all of the weapons at his disposal. The arsenal is right there. Dion Pereira, Pity Martinez, Romario Williams. I mean, it is set up for Andrew to have a big night tonight. And I hope he gets a chance to show off his skill and his technical ability, which is unquestioned. I really want to see him take advantage of this, and I hope he will. Because if he does, I think he's someone who can be a fixture in the 18 for the first team going forward. And he's probably going to have to play quite a bit in the month of August and certainly September when you get into very heavy match compression.
Yeah, you're going to have to. And this is an opportunity for Carlton. In my opinion, I think it's the longest opportunity that he'll have to play with a first-choice lineup around him outside of Joseph Martinez up top. I mean, he gets the start tonight surrounded by Pereira, who's been a revelation on the left, and Pity Martinez, your reigning South American Player of the Year. If Carlton performs, I feel like he has set himself up to not be passed over when Ezequiel Barco is away or needs a break, or when Tito Villalba is injured. He's going to have more opportunities if he performs tonight.
Well, and not only that, I think Frank can almost look at this lineup tonight as a beta test for what you might do Tuesday in Columbus, because I don't think you want to be rushing Ezequiel Barco back right now to play in U.S. Open Cup. I think you want to kind of stretch him out to play on June 26th in Toronto. Same ideally for Tito Villalba, especially up top. If it works tonight, this is probably going to be your attacking look again Tuesday night in Columbus. I think you might make some adjustments in the midfield and the back line, maybe to give Jeff Lorenowitz a little bit of a break, maybe to give Miles Robinson a break and get Leandro back in there. But I think right now, this is kind of what I don't want to say you're stuck with, but this is your best possible option right now for your 4 attacking players. So in a way, it almost feels like a little bit of a dress rehearsal for Andrew. One final chance to prove himself. Hey, you want to play again on Tuesday night, you've got to give us something tonight.
Mike, going back to last year's 4th round to what you were referencing in the 3-0 win over Charleston, Andrew hits the screamer in the 14th. Ezequiel Barco gets the penalty in the 47th, and Romario gets goal number 3 in the 64th. And, we've talked about Pereira and Carlton and Pity tonight, but I think that this is also another test for Romario to be in these situations as well, to be included in the 18s and be up top while Joseph is away on national duty.
Totally, John, spot on. I mean, he is really the only pure option you've got at striker right now with Joseph gone, and I don't see any scenario where Joseph would be back with the club on the 26th in Toronto. So very, very important game for Romario Williams. And the thing about Romario was, prior to him having the injury setback last year, I really feel like he was becoming a reliable contributor, not only off the bench, but those few matches where Joseph did get banged up. And I want to say the Columbus match last June was one of them where Romario had to play 45 minutes.
He did.
You didn't really worry about too much of a drop-off. I mean, he was very, very solid. He went out, he did his job, he was responsible, he put in work in the midfield when he had to, and he just liked what you saw. And it's not necessarily Romario's fault. He's just had a lot of setbacks with injuries. I don't think he's I mean, this is going to sound harsh. I don't think he's made the most of his time in USL. I think that is something that he does need to be held accountable for. But, man, I mean, you've got to make the most of this opportunity tonight. And I think from a fitness and health standpoint, there's really no excuse. I mean, he should be there. He should absolutely be there. If Romario does not give you much tonight, and possibly again on Tuesday in Columbus, then I think Frank's got a dilemma for June 26th in Toronto, and you might see a real shakeup amid your attacking players because you're not going to have really great options at striker. So I agree, John. Same thing as Andrew. I mean, it's kind of a dress rehearsal for Romario Williams tonight, but I like this matchup for him in the same way that I like the matchup for Andrew Carleton. Mike Anhauser's rotating a lot and is trying to find some answers for Charleston. They have been okay. I mean, and that might even be a little bit generous this year in USL Championship. As Michael Parker said on 92.9 The Game earlier this week, there's a reason why these Charleston players are where they are right now and why the Atlanta United players are where they are right now. And you've got to go out and show it on the pitch.
Yeah, Charleston has one win in their last 5, and that did come over the weekend against Birmingham Legion at MUSC Health Stadium. Playing through some sand traps, but they did get the 3-1 win in that one. Romario Williams tonight, I do like that it's Williams and Carleton back together because they had a connection in the Atlanta United 2 match last weekend. Now, I thought Carleton was excellent in that match, and I thought Romario kind of let Carleton down a little bit in that, where Andrew gave him a couple of great opportunities that Romario misplayed a bit. If Romario doesn't get the job done tonight, you have 2 players on the bench tonight that I think would then be auditioning for that match in Toronto. And Brandon Vasquez is back from injury. He got a goal in the match against New York Red Bulls, too, and looked really sharp for about 10 or 15 minutes. And you could tell he'd been out of action for a little while. The other wild card is Gordon Wild. He's a possibility for that role. He was a top scorer in college at the University of Maryland, and he scored 7 goals last year in USL Championship for Charleston Battery. He's got a cannon of a left foot. He's a different type of forward, but he would be the other option. Romario does have competition for that job.
That is interesting. Gordon Wild, you make a good case for it. It feels a little bit outside the box. But Brandon Vasquez is someone that I think would benefit. Look, he's in the kind of a similar boat as Romario Williams in terms of injury, but he is someone that Tata Martino really favored coming off the bench last year, played him a lot in Open Cup with pretty good results against Charleston and not great results against Chicago Fire. But I think Vasquez is the type of guy who's only going to benefit with more game experience and more minutes. And he's someone that I would look at tonight, especially if you can get what you want early in this match and give yourself a little bit of a cushion. I think it would be very, very optimal for Frank to try to give Brandon as much time as possible tonight to figure some stuff out with the first team look.
Yeah, I would love to get him some more minutes because I think that was what showed in the match over the weekend was just he's not 45 minutes fit right now. He's not quite there yet in terms of being sharp. Patrick Cox on Twitter is asking if we can get the sprinklers turned on for good luck. If you remember what happened last year.
I forgot about that.
I did
good
too.
Memory. Oh, yeah, that was...
With pictures.
Listen, I really... The one thing that kind of frustrated me last year... Atlanta United, you might remember, had a little bit of a wobble in May where they lost to SKC, they lost home to Red Bulls, they had the draw against New England, They drew against New York City, which was a great draw, but a lot of fans weren't giving credit for it being a great draw. And then you lost to Chicago in Open Cup. And then it really even took you into the 4th of July, where you had the late loss at Dallas. And there was a little bit of a wobble, and fans were starting to get impatient and frustrated. And what I was a little bit annoyed by was it was as if everyone was completely overlooking the performance they had against Charleston, who at that time last year, I want to say was 4th or 5th in USL. I mean, they were a top 5 team in their league. They were coming in with a first choice lineup with some MLS experience, and Atlanta United completely dominated them. Absolutely dominated them in that match in Kennesaw. Really one of the better performances Atlanta United had during that stretch of mid-May through early July. And I think that's important for tonight. I mean, it's kind of like what you talked about with the U.S. women's national team in Thailand, Jason. And I don't think this is anything remotely close to that kind of mismatch. But you want to really see some quality tonight. The scoreline is not as important as just seeing that quality, that connection. This is a team that has not played in almost 2 full weeks. This is a team that has only trained for a couple days since they got the win over Chicago Fire on June 1st. So I'm going to be very interested to see just how crisp this all looks. And regardless of opponent, if Atlanta United goes out there tonight and shows us the quality that they showed us in their last 2 league games, I'm going to be very encouraged. That counts for something for me. If we don't see that quality tonight, you still win, I would be a little bit concerned, to be totally honest with you.
And Mike, to your point, Austin on Twitter, one of the things that he's looking for, or the thing he's looking for off the top of his head, is movement off the ball when Atlanta United is attacking to create space to get behind that experienced backline that Charleston's trotting out there tonight.
Don't you feel like you really started to see that against Loons, and then really, really started to see that against Chicago Fire, where the movement off the ball, honestly, that might be one of the things that Atlanta United has improved upon the most over the course of the last couple weeks. I saw a fan on Twitter tweet that it reminded him of sharks circling in the water away from the ball, and it really had that feel to it. So, yeah, John, I mean, really important to pick up where you left off. You don't want to take a step back. And you have the advantage tonight. I mean, look, you did lose 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday, because of traveling to Charleston, having to travel back, not training and all of that. But you have the advantage tonight. I mean, Charleston is in a really bad spot as far as travel is concerned right now. And then they have to get right on the bus and go down to Tampa. Take advantage tonight. Take care of your business and look good doing it. Show us that the progress that you made in the month of May was not a fluke. And, a good performance tonight, I think, is extremely important to driving that point home.
So for those of you who are going to be looking for how to watch this, if you don't have ESPN Plus, you can sign up for a free 7-day trial. Go to ESPN.com, follow all the instructions. It is only on ESPN Plus. We all tried. The club tried. We tried. The radio station tried. All of us tried. And it's lock, stock, and barrel with ESPN Plus for this. So that's how you watch. Tweet at us during the match. Let us know what you're thinking. We will have a post-game show afterwards. Jarrett is on site. He'll be getting some post-match audio. We'll try to bring that to you as well. So let us know what you're thinking as the game's going on. I'll be chiming in on Twitter just like I'd be rambling on the radio. I'll just be trying to type it as fast as I possibly can as it's happening. I'll do the best I can. I make no guarantees, but I'll be typing a lot. Hopefully it is a good start to this, and you don't let Charleston grow into it. Look, Charleston's going to be pretty narrow. For me, it's the right side. It's Atlanta getting down the right side, Franco Escobar stretching the field, Pity Martinez cutting inside, and I think Andrew Carlton has a night to remember. I really do. I think with the talent around him, he's going to shine tonight. So looking forward to it. Your broadcast will start in about 5 minutes with kickoff probably pretty soon after that without much of a crowd to deal with. You're not going to have all the usual things before kick. So thanks, everybody, for listening, finding us however you did, and tweeting at us throughout the pregame. So we'll be back afterwards. Mucha plata, y'all.
I was waiting for Mike. Mucha Platzville.
Mucha contractual obligations, y'all.